I'm a haunt actor. I've been doing a haunt with Dark Harbor for the last 3 years, and I did Knott's Scary Farm in 2004 and 2005. So it's really spread out.
I am a 33-year-old single mom, and I've acted pretty much off and on all my life, but I didn't get into haunt until 2018. My best friend, who happens to be Tim, the lovely Mr. Baker, got me into Dark Harbor for 2018 and 2019. We don't get to do it this year. I'm a little sad, but luckily I've got my lovely Black Mass people who are still taking care of me and getting me into stuff, and we're like a family, and it's wonderful. My first show with Black Mass was last year. That was Inauguration. That was a hell of an introduction to the company, to be quite honest. So, but yeah, it's my haunt. I just done Dark Harbor and Black Mass.
I'm actually fairly new to the acting game. I started about a little less than a year ago. I started off with a extreme haunt called The 17th Door.
Okay.
From there, I did things with Black Mass, and then I also started working at a place called Black Market Escape Rooms.
Right now, trying to get into like voiceover work, and then the whole haunting deal. It's definitely different than a whole lot of other acting gigs that I've taken. It's a lot more fun and freeing and stuff.
The only previous experience I've had with any acting is working just one season at Queen Mary's Dark Harbor, but that was 2019 year. But like I've already been working at Black Mass before that, so that's all my acting background. So not much, just brand new.
So anyway, yeah, I'm an actor for Black Mass. It's a fascinating experience, and it's a fascinating art. It's a way to go in and be somebody who you are not. That's true for me as well as for the clients.
I like to say it's through haunt, but Alex likes to tell the story where it was we had both worked at Dark Harbor, and Amori was kind of like, "Oh yeah, no, my friend Tim, he's a great guy. He can do stuff." And at first he was just like, "What? No, this guy's just a meathead who can yell really loud." It's like, okay, valid, but also we went into the winter season with the Queen Mary. They had this event called Chill, which was Christmas themed, and they had cast me to be the Dutch version of Santa Claus, the Sinterklaas, and he didn't recognize me in the costume because it's like this giant white beard and this big old hat, and I'm carrying a staff and I have a cloak on, and they did aged makeup on me and everything. So the first night that we're doing that, he'd seen the character around, messing around with the kids and everything. And then I came back behind the to the break area, start taking off my costume and everything, light up a cigarette, and just like, you know what? Fuck everyone. And he just looks at me like, okay, this guy's got fucking range. I just watched him from fucking around with a bunch of like little kids, like, making them smile and laugh and everything, to coming back here and like, fuck everyone.
Through an ex-friend, he's no longer around, but that's all right. He actually introduced me first because he was an actor for them, and then they needed someone to help, and I was also his friend, so I came over and I got started with them during Prelude. So one of the very first shows, I was sitting there helping them, getting those helping just as much as I could with Prelude.
I was explained a little bit about, I think Tim told me a little bit about Prelude and I believe part 1. And then he's, Alex has a part for you. Would you be up to doing it? it's got a little bit of nudity. Would you be okay with that? Sure, I guess. You know, and then I find out what everything is going on, and I went, I may have bit a little more off than I can chew, but I'm gonna do it. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It definitely tested me in ways that I didn't think was gonna test me. I thought it was gonna, you know, because Tim and I are such good friends and I mostly interacted with him, I thought I was gonna be fine. And, you know, it ended up testing me mentally and emotionally and a little bit physically because I pulled a muscle one night. Yeah. But other than that, it was an amazing experience, and I'm so glad that I did it.
Oh, that one was a day. Yeah, because they kind of, these folks, they were my friends, first of all, and then they kind of slowly introduced it. And I was introduced as a guest the very first time. And I didn't know them super well. I knew them well enough to trust them, but I took it very seriously when I got into it. You know, and of course I have these mysterious instructions. I got to go to a specific street corner. Don't have anything on me, all this kind of stuff. And so, I mean, I went there in like a workout shirt, shorts, and a tank top, no keys, no wallet or anything. I mean, they could have put me in the trunk of a car, took me out to the desert. No one would ever see me again. I had nothing traceable on me. And I just kind of just went with it, you know, it just went with it with the strange experience of suddenly having this different augmented reality that afterwards, because again, I'm friends with these people. So here, this is one thing that's interesting to me. Most people, they attend these and then there's a wrap and they're taken back to their vehicle, they move on. You know, with me, they kind of said, cut, and then we all smoked pot.
All right, I'm into it. I'm totally into it. Man.
Go from this immersive experience, right, where I'm going through this drip torture and listening to these fascinating monologues and seeing creative characters and getting blindfolded and left this way. There's another part in the play where they took me to this park and I had a little kid's lunch and they left me alone in the park and suddenly I'm just eating an apple in the middle of this dark park for like a half an hour, not knowing what the hell's going on. So going through all these experiences and then suddenly everyone drops character at the end of it and we're all talking. It was a little bit discombobulating, to say the least.
There was a little bit of like, what did I get into? Because there's a huge difference in my mind, like from the 17th door to this, because with the 17th door, you have groups of 8 and you have large groups going through, you have all these different things happening around you, all that type of stuff. But the immersive experience, they tend to typically, especially Black Mass, tends to do specifically one person type things. And so like you are more and like with the 17th door and haunts in general, you're one actor out of hundreds of actors that person experienced that night. So if you're off or something, or you have an off night or something of that caliber, it doesn't really matter too much. Like it does, but it doesn't, because if they'll forget about you then, but by the time they go through. With this, you can't be like that. You can't have that. You have to stay pushing through no matter what, because of the fact that you are one of maybe 6 people, some depending on what you're doing, what the show is and everything, and there's one person. So everything you do, that person's going to remember, and it's going to stick in their head. And so that, and then I had never been shot with something before, and so when I was told, hey, we're gonna get shot with a grenade launcher, I was a little bit like, okay, like this is new.
I had no freaking clue what to expect. I met Alex at 17th door and he came up, it was towards the end of the season, you know, everybody's like, oh my God, everybody's so sad, you know, we'll keep in touch. Bullshit. And he's like, hey, I have a show. I do my own like immersive horror. He called it theater horror thing, and I was like, okay, well, what's it about? The thing about Alex is that I had to go to somebody else to figure out what the fuck was going on. I'm like, I didn't know what to go. I didn't know what to expect. That's just like, okay, it's a horror thing where we pick people up and they come through. It's a one-person show. Okay, cool. But I didn't know what was happening. So I just show up to some random person who I've never met's house and be like, is this the right address? Okay, I know that person. Okay, this is the right address. And it's like, okay, you're gonna be on the couch and we're gonna kill you and whatever. And I'm like, great. So I had no clue what to expect. So I was just flying. It's like, Amanda, we're gonna have you do this. Okay, awesome, fantastic. I'm gonna have to make up some BS for like 5 minutes as we watch Evil Dead on the couch and offer them popcorn or whatever, and then I'm gonna get strangled to death. Awesome, great, okay, moving on. Let's go. Let's kill it. So it was a bit confusing, but once I realized like, okay, I know what's up, then it was amazing.
Let's see. My first one that I did, I was thinking, because it was a sorority house, I was like, how obnoxious can I get? I kind of pulled a little bit, I have a kid, so this is gonna sound a little weird, but I watched Paranorman, and there's a character in there called Courtney, and she's Norman's older sister. So I pulled a lot from Courtney, and I pulled a lot from Jawbreaker too.
Okay.
Just the fancy, what was her face?
Is it Rose McGowan? Yeah.
Yeah, Rose McGowan. I pulled a little bit from that. I wanted to be as obnoxious and just as vapid as possible.
Okay.
That one. And then, I did tech, and then I did a little bit for Hell Date, which, didn't require as much character. Alex really helped me with branding of the lamb. He helped me so much with that because it was a personal character to him, and I kind of just went where he led me, and then he let me go off and do little things, and then we would check back with each other to make sure that I wasn't going off track. But that's a lot of me in that character, but it's also a lot of him too. So.
Yeah, so a lot of times to get myself into that mindset, to get myself more into the roles that I tend to seem to play, I base a lot off of two characters. The first one is Anthony Hopkins with Silence of the Lambs, because, I mean, who doesn't use Hannibal Lecter? And the other one is Nathan from Repo the Genetic Opera.
Oh, nice.
Because both have that air of that kind of menacing approach, that appearance, things of that caliber, without necessarily being like super aggressive or things of that sort.
I pull for a lot from the Devil's Rejects, actually.
Okay.
The character Otis, Bill Moseley plays.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that, but like less like evil.
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily look at anything that Baker does as evil per se, more as it's just selfish.
I don't know about any one person, I guess. I guess the person who's watching, I guess the audience member.
Okay.
Because I myself am a very emotional, reactive person. I don't try, and I know people, because I've been reactive all my life. My family used to make fun of me because it was like they would do something to me and I would freak out. But it's like they would get a reaction out of it. They found it entertaining, for good or for ill. But I knew that I was giving them something. So I feel like if I can go out and give the person who's watching me, even if it's the billionth time that I've done it, being able to elicit a reaction from that person, to give it my all and making sure that this is the one time they're going to see me. Mm-hmm. I might as well give them a good performance that I know that I've put my all in.
Nice.
Kind of mostly my imagination, and then also like scare actors that I've like seen in person, like Paul and Reyna. I haven't seen them like scare at like a big event, but like how they work here is a wonderful like learning experience to watch them how they do it. And then I've also got Alex and Amori. They're also wonderful scare actors. I got to work with Amori at Dark Harbor actually during my first year. Yeah, I got to work on the the bungee in their circus.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't really have any actors that I look up or like look into for inspiration, simply because I don't really watch a lot of movies and haven't watched very many like horror or Halloween movies.
I spoke a lot with Alex as far as kind of coming up with what we wanted to do with this character. Personally, I kind of drew upon a movie called Bronson.
Oh yes.
Oh my God, the actor eludes me, but he also played Bane. If you can help me out here.
Tom Hardy.
Thank you, Tom
Yeah.
Hardy.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And so, because we're talking about, might as well go a little bit into what Import 2 is really about. We're talking about an illegal human trafficking prison. So you're going to have some pretty rough characters in there, right? So I wanted to try to evoke a personality of somebody who had been in the mix of this bullshit for a long time, who had been immersed in violence in a way that most of us are not familiar with. And so I think his character worked really well for that, because he was sort of, he wasn't really fit for the public. And Todd isn't either. Todd is not either. Todd, he's a violent guy.
I remember a lot of times it would be me and Emily, my basically my scene partner. We would be upstairs, and it's like we're chatting or whatever, because we're supposed to be sorority girls, and they're killing us off one by one. And we would get to a point where we would just hear thud, 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 loud, just thud, thud, and we're like, oh crap, we're starting, okay, because. I mean, we knew it's like the person who was coming, the guest was coming, but it's like, oh, okay, they're there now. Okay, we know that we have to like focus in. That was basically on our you're on in 2, that kind of stuff. And my favorite part would probably be when, honestly, my favorite part probably wasn't even when I died, because the guest would be as one of the girls was getting freaking just raped and screaming her lungs out, which was terrifying to listen to every single time. Nothing changed about that. It's like, holy shit, she's actually getting murdered down there. Me as sorority girls, be like, Summer, we get it. You're getting late again. Now, would you please do us a favor and shut the fuck up? Oh my God. And Alex, it got to a point, we did that a couple things like, Summer, if you're going to bring gentleman callers over here, you have to be more like considerate of all the other girls. And then and then I would come in and Alex fucking loved this for some reason. And I would be like, and at least have, it's like if you're gonna, Jesus Christ, woman, I hope it's like, Jesus Christ, Summer, I hope you're using a goddamn safe word, and at least have the goddamn common courtesy to send them up here when you're done with them. Fuck! Language, and then Reyna would be like, language. I'd be like, shut up, and then there would just be a slap, and I'd be like, ow, Jesus. So the part about the dying part and having people actually apparently get really like drawn into the life leaving my eyes or whatever. Like that part was fun and everything, and I loved dying, especially when I had some popcorn kernels stuck in my throat and I was dying and I couldn't cough to save my life because I was dead. Goddamn. But my favorite part had to be screaming down the stairs, being like, this woman, this chick is getting murdered. The guest is standing outside, and all of a sudden it's just like, would you please just have the goddamn common courtesy to shut the fuck up? That was probably my favorite, because I'm not a bitchy person in real life. I'm not a mean girl. I don't think I'm a bitch in real life. So just to be able to rattle off and be some bitch who do not give a shit about anybody, right. It was freeing, oddly enough.
The thing that I have found that I really enjoy about an immersive experience is that it's almost like there's a little bit more, for lack of a better word, intimacy between you and the guests, because of the fact that you have that one-on-one interaction with them. And so when you are doing things, you can see it more in their eyes, you can see it in their face, how they're reacting, and you learn their body movements, their emotions, things like that a lot more. You still have that with haunts and everything, but because you're dealing with larger groups, you don't get that time to necessarily focus on one specific person because you need to be scaring everyone. So like if you have a group of 8 people at a haunt, you need to be scaring all of them. So you can still get a little bit, but you can't. You got to move on. Where with this, you have that one solitary person, so therefore you can learn more about them, and from that, then learn whether to move forward more with something or back off of it if you need to.
Part 2 was amazing. It really was. You had, you got somebody that got shanked. You had somebody that was tasered. The guests had a lot of interaction with everybody, so I bet that was absolutely fun, and it was fun to see who wanted to do stuff and who didn't want to do stuff. There was a lot of reluctant people, but there were a lot of people that were like, hell yes, let's go, let's do this. A lot of people were really reluctant to tase Tim. There were quite a few people that had to be talked into.
Really?
Yes, there were quite. It was there were a few that okay, yes, I'll do it, but there were a lot that were like, no, please, I'm not doing this. I have to talk about it. It was interesting to see everybody's reactions.
Yeah.
So.
It's about 10 minutes of electric torture.
Wow.
Which I demanded was real.
Okay. So method acting. I like it.
I've never been in a situation where I'd have to be like, oh yeah, no, I know what that feels like being tased. So no, this needs to be real. We need to do this. I want the guests to get it completely authentic. The founders were resistant at first until I basically picked up a taser. It's like, see? And even then, it's like, okay, well, we need to have someone on staff that can check you after every show, which they did. They checked up on me in between shows. We're very safe, 100% safe every time.
Nice.
Even at the point where we let the guests do it once, which got a little hair raising at times for me. Just the anxiety of someone. Like, I trust the group.
Yeah.
I trust this person. But Paul, who also plays Kim, was very good about keeping his hand on the taser at all times. At most, they touched the butt.
Yeah. Okay.
Snap and done. And like, yeah, you like that?
Hell date. Okay. Hell date. So, okay. So Miss Amori is supposed to be the hell date, like the worst date you've ever had on Earth. And it is like a haunt, dark ride type theme. And I would sit mostly behind the curtain and wait for the guests to come by. And you had an operator and a ticket person. And the ticket person happened to be the ex of Miss Amori in the storyline, and there was a bit of banter between them in the beginning, and then the guests would come through into the dark ride, and we had a really cool setup, like they got, kind of put through this tiny little obstacle course type thing, and it was great until you got to the fake puke, like I mentioned before, and then it just smelled because it got all over my hands when I was tickling them, because she throws up all over the guests. And I'm sorry, I'm having flashbacks.
It was that bad, huh?
I think the texture was worse than the smell. Wow, sorry. But no, it was a lot of fun. We had different types of people that you would find at a haunt. You had the operator, the dark ride people that would kind of scare you out of nowhere, which was the tickling. And then we had a cool gremlin character that was played by our friend Grace. And she did a little bit of dancing at the beginning. And then we had another character that was wearing a skull mask that when you got to the back of the setup, that's where it was the most haunty. We had, you know, lights and fog and everything. And once you got to the end of the Hell Date, you had the operator coming back, the X, who came back and was, you know, was very, very angry and decided to take out his anger on the Hell Date and the Hell Date's date. And again, more flashbacks. There was a prop gun involved, and I was the only extra that was not able to escape before that happened. And I have a little bit of a phobia with loud noises. So I was sitting in the back going, oh my God.
Was on the holiday of Purim, and ultimately Alex wanted to essentially evoke something regarding genocide. Pretty dark subject, you know. And so he wanted to evoke the trauma and the horror and really ugliness of what genocide is. Yeah. So the story is long ago there was this Jewish king, and he had a battle with this other fellow who was my character's father. And the deal was my father, who spurned this guy, he was kind of a drunken, gambling lout. He was actually kind of a jerk. He wasn't really a good dad. And so he got in the fight. And so me and there was 10 brothers total. Essentially, in this world, sort of built based on an old school world. In this world, essentially, as all sons of this man, we were somewhat expected to stand up and fight for him in this war. We didn't want to, because we didn't really back our fight. It wasn't our battle. So I and my brothers went, and we surrendered to this king. But what happened is he ordered to have us all slain. And we were all hacked to pieces. Except for me, who my character, I was a skinny teenager at the time. This is supposed to be a long time ago. I took a blow on the side of the head, and then it's described in this long, terrible monologue that I gave in the show, where essentially all the bodies of my brothers end up lumped on top of me in pieces.
Oh, wow. Slaughtered
them all. And there's also a moment within it too that I described. I don't know, let's build up to that, because that's better to build up.
Yeah.
It really is. So to bring it to the modern world and to bring it to the client, the storyline is they're introduced to that king's daughter, who's now an adult and who's a princess, and that was played by Emily. And she had 2 girls with her. One of them was Lauren, and Amanda was the other one. Essentially, that's her girl entourage. And it was again at the Tiki Bar. The client was met up with them, and she was essentially, it's kind of a mean girl's attitude. It was like a girl's going out in town to party. And Princess Emily was obviously introduced as a very important person. I think the client was typically told to get on their knee and kiss her ring when she was met to her and everything. And so they go in, and what they're celebrating is her father's murder of all of my brothers.
Oh, wow.
As the story has been told in her family, we were diabolical people who needed killing, and her father did a just thing in butchering us all. And so they went to the Tiki Club, and she gave a loud cheers about, cheering her father's savagery. And this was an interesting part of the immersive theater, because I actually, in a fairly intimidating, intense way, interrupt her entire story at the Tiki Bar. We actually have an argument and have to kind of, banter and talk shit. And it's a tricky one because it's a public place, and I got to be intimidating. And if you're intimidating in a public place, you got to worry about somebody, taking you seriously.
Oh, wow.
I did. I got interrupted a couple times and kind of had to
be like, hey, it's cool, man. We're making art.
Oh, I did it all in character. Like there's
awesome.
One guy tried to almost like calm me down. Like he thought he was like, hey man, hey Papa. He called me Papa Spurf because of the blue hair. And I ended up slapping him in the face. And there, we can make out later. I had to stay in character and be a tough guy.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a challenge.
It is. And but I don't really introduce who I am there. And Reyna, Reyna is in the show as well. She's their driver. From the bar, they're all taken off. What they don't know is Reyna is actually in cahoots with me.
Mm-hmm.
So, with Reyna's betrayal of these people, that would introduce me and my son, who was played by Chitaro, and he played it really well.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a kind of a special boy with this. He's kind of shown as a sort of he doesn't speak much. He's kind of a trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the three girls and the client would realize they are in deep shit, because I would come in almost worse than Todd as far as intensity.
Mm-hmm.
And it would start with me handcuffing Lauren and Amanda, the characters of those two, with them like cringing and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it almost like I cared for them. It's gonna be okay. It'll be okay. And somewhere around there, they let in another actor, Kent, and so that whole monologue scene, as far as explosiveness, starts with me brutally executing Kent in front of him, because I had him kneel in front of them.
Oh.
And again, because he's all beat up, he was these girls' bodyguards, and I told him, just relax. You're a very brave warrior. You did the right thing. You fought very hard out there. You can never have won, but you fought very hard. I respect that so much. Just relax. And then,
Nice.
Oh man, that's great.
went over great. The blood bags were so nice. And that would begin, essentially, that would kick off a 10 to 12 minute monologue where I describe what happened to my brothers and my family in horrible detail.
Awesome.
And at every beat, we had 10 beats. I would describe a segment of what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would say, first of all, I would just say what I said back at the bar was true, that these brothers were massacred. And then I would start to count. 1. Every time I count, my son, with these 2 terrible knives, would horribly slash one of the girls.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So it was sort of a time torture thing to a monologue.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it got bloody and and the intensity and the emotion of this, especially as it impacted the clients, it works. It really worked.
Oh yeah.
And the story would get bloodier and bloodier as I went up until I got to 10. And that's at that point he killed me. Now, what I was starting to talk about earlier, that this revealed that was kind of a fun gimmick in the show, is that when my brothers and I were massacred, as I lay underneath all those bodies, I did at one point hear the soldiers, they actually found a baby.
All right.
And in the story, that's when I remembered that one of my brothers had brought their newly born child with them, thinking that surely they would accept our surrender, we'd be on our way.
Right.
What ends up happening is Esther's people take that child, end up raising them essentially as one of their own, group to think they're one of that group. And so during this monologue at the end, I talk about how one thing that I've wanted to do is to find that lost child and let them know who their family really is, and to know who they are and who betrayed them. And then they and I together can avenge what happened to us. And what turns around is that's the client.
Nice.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was the fun reveal at the end and I would do that before the girls would be killed. Right before 10, I would describe all this, and then I say, and the child is you.
Oh man.
The child.
I love it. Wow. Wow.
It was a great.
Intense.
And then they're given the choice of to accept their family and come with me, or to go with or to stay with Esther, and we all came with her.
I bet they did, man. So that sounds like a really effects-driven show. That's a lot of blood. And so how many of those shows were happening in a night? I can't imagine the turn time.
One night affair.
Okay.
We just did it on the holiday, and
perfect.
we did, I believe, 6 shows.
6 shows.
And we went through maybe 80 bags of blood as far as it was a lot of blood and a lot of cleanup in between shows. The only murder I did was killing Kent the guard, kind of at the beginning. The bulk of it was Chitaro. He was the mighty murder machine. He did such a good job. He was creepy as heck.
Yeah.
It was a lot of.
I'm like, that's like my dream is I want to do a monologue while people are getting stabbed. I was like, you had to felt like 14 feet tall, right? And those, I mean, in terms of feeling in character and having that performance space, I think that would have felt amazing. Like,
It did, but it was a challenging one. Todd, and M Part 2 was arguably the more fun. Todd was a little bit more fun. Todd was just a savage asshole. You know, he doesn't necessarily come with a long story of trauma, though I'm sure he probably has it. But Todd's more of sort of a selfish, violent thug in a way.
Right.
This guy, Jacob, is he's a lot more sophisticated. There's more going on with him. He's somebody who actually suffered a horrible event. And as described, he ended up being a slave. I mean, he's gone through 30 years of bullshit to try to make his life better again and to find this person. So to evoke that rage, to evoke years of frustration and anger while you're speaking, and then at the end to turn it around and try to show love, because that's what I would try to show the client at the end when I say, and you are the last one. You know, you got to turn around. It's a job, man.
It's fun to be part of a production no matter what I'm doing. Like I said before, we're a family, and I think crew is just as important as the actors, because the actors are busy doing the acting stuff, but if something goes wrong, it's up to the crew to take care of it. I really enjoyed acting in both of the ones that I did, but I had a lot of fun doing the part 2, because I was right behind the screen that was going on, where the action was going on, and I got to hear everything, and I got to hear all the guests' reactions. So that was pretty amazing. I'm really half and half with that whole thing. I really enjoy both.
So for me, I have only participated so far with M Part 2. That's the main one that I was in. I played Art in that one. For me, there were 2 moments that kind of stuck out with the show and like that and everything. The first one is the way how you can misdirect people and make them believe something without it being necessarily there. So with M Part 2, we had a part where somebody took a shift out from their back and their back end, and they like put it in front of the guests. And we didn't use any smell or anything like that, but we'd start acting like there was, and then you'd see the guests start gagging or start reacting to that, thinking there was a smell there, even though there wasn't anything of any sort.
Right.
So that was kind of interesting to see that experience, to see how guests react to that, and knowing in the back of your head, but there's nothing there. There's no
right
of the sort. The other one is my character specifically got shot with a grenade launcher.
Oh, okay.
And so that part was fun and interesting, not just as an actor, but seeing how the guests react with that, because you would usually have one of three reactions. You'd have the people who would hesitate, but the moment they shot that off, they'd like really get into it. You'd have the people who wouldn't want to do it at all and like would freak out about the fact of just shooting it. Or you had the people who just were stone cold and just the moment they were told to shoot would just fire without even a second thought. So they would use a pressurized gun and everything, and then rubber bullets that had a end that would, when it would blow up, would make chalk.
Oh, nice.
It had a laser on the end of it, and so the guests, when they point it, they'd see the laser go across the room and everything. And we just practiced a lot. This is just, during rehearsals and everything, we'd stand against, like, we'd have a mattress behind a wall type thing, and so you just stand there, and then we'd just shoot, and then from there we'd figure out, okay, we need to make sure that they aim this high, things like that. And the whole time the guests are being influenced by an actor. So even though the guest thinks they're the ones doing it, the actor is guiding to make sure that I'm not getting hit in the head or anything like that.
I think, honestly, my favorite would have to be from our first show in the M series. They called it Prelude. It's a scene between me and Baker's partner, Clausen, played by Michael Lundstrom, also a very fine actor. He has this part where he's monologuing about how the Spartans used to test their young, and Baker's just all into it, like rubbing his hands together, like, yeah, I love this story. Keep tell him more, and it just became so organic between me and Michael that yeah, it has to rank up there with some of my top moments.
Oh man, okay. I really enjoyed listening to my best friend getting tasered constantly for, I don't know, about 2, 3, I think it was 3 or 4 weekends. I can't remember, time flies. But I loved listening to that. And I think I really liked, there was a scene in Branding that I really liked too. I'm not sure if I'm really allowed to talk about it though, but it was pretty hilarious. The guys were bantering back and forth, and there may have been some inappropriate things involved, and it was absolutely hilarious. I loved listening to that.
My favorite was probably during Purim. I freaking loved when we were like me and Lauren, oh my god, I forgot what she was like, but Lauren Rose were like handcuffed to chairs, and there was this one guest who came in, a very lovely young woman. She came in, and we were being cut, and we were being just mutilated and crying and screaming bloody murder, and she was sobbing this guest was sobbing her eyes out, and like she reached over and touched my knee as if like, because we were close, like as if that was helping me somehow. Meanwhile, I was like dying. I saw that, I mean, she was crying, and just to have that like, oh my god. Because usually people sit there and they're like, okay, but I mean, it's like they're either they're like, what the hell, or they're like, yeah,
Right.
yeah, you like that, don't you? You dirty whore. It's like, okay, first of all, Mark, chill. Second of all, I don't know who Mark is. But just to be able to like, holy shit, we've actually like really affected this person.
Yeah.
Plus, it was a lot of fun. Period. I'm going to what was so fun about it, beside the point that, you know, being able to scream bloody murder and be covered in blood, and because honestly I'm 10 times hotter with covered in blood anyway, but that's neither here nor there.
I think my favorite scene for anything honestly would be like my death scene in Branding of the Lamb, simply because of all the small little things that lead up to it. It like really gets you, like you're reaching that like peak of just like adrenaline and fear and that kind of thing, and then my death scene's just the cherry on top that just like makes you almost want to say forward, but not quite, because you don't know what's going to happen next.
It's almost one I kind of almost like to think about a little bit, but I probably have to say, even though we're just talking about it, it probably is Esther and Purim.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because Todd, I had to bring in some real intimidation and savagery.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob had to bring that in along with sadness.
Right.
Because, again, not to belabor the point too much, but Jacob's coming from a place of tragedy, serious tragedy. And again, since the show ultimately is about genocide, that's really what we're trying to convey. It's his rage, his tragedy, his sorrow, all these murders, are the result of this horrible event that happened so many years before. And that was emotional for me. It was harder. Playing Todd was fun, ultimately. Right. Jacob, at the end of it, a moment ago, you still spoke of being drained sometimes at the performances. Come on, yeah, I was pretty drained. I had to give something up to do that show.
I think with Inauguration, I watched a lot of, movies, and then come and luckily I didn't have too many lines, and when they eventually got to me, all I have to do is turn on victim. And that's really easy for me because I love playing the victim. Put me in a B horror movie, even the C, I'll do C too. It doesn't matter, B and C. Put me in one of those and I would shine like diamond. I just remember just be vapid. Just be vapid. And then you wouldn't really have to do much to put me in terror because I was the second to last kill. So I had to listen to everybody else die first. And I could hear each one of them. And so by the time he got to me, I was just like, okay, I'm ready to die now. I'm good. With the lady in red, I would repeat to myself, big dick energy. Like just the entire time. And I've got big dick energy. And for me, it's the costume. And I had a certain prop. And as soon as that prop went into my hand, I was all there.
Okay.
So, makeup prop. I was all good.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes, for me, I listen to horror movie soundtracks on the ride over every time, like without fail. I just have a playlist from Apple Music that's just like, a generic like 100 different movie soundtrack things from like The Exorcist, Nightmare on Elm Street to Suspiria, like just a whole wide range. And so I'll usually listen to that, just get myself into that headspace and everything. And then one of the things that's really cool that you see around here is like, if you get there early or something, like we'll joke around, talk, all those things. But once it hits that time to get serious, it's like a switch gets switched in everyone's head, and you just get into that character and you get into that mindset. And so I think on the way there, I'll listen to the music, and then just that switch, just seeing everybody just take it very seriously, just very much like, okay, it's time to go. Just gets you into that place, and it gets you like, okay, I'm now this.
As far as a specific ritual, no. It's more of getting in touch with myself. As he just said, actors, we tend to kind of go into our own experiences to kind of bring these things out. And as a human being, I certainly have had my share of trauma in life. And that affords me a big old ball of bullshit emotion. It's kind of hidden in my chest, in the back of my head, wherever. You can't see that I don't really know anybody, because then I'd be ripping people's heads off. So what kind of happens, before that show, before M2, for example, me and the jailer who was supposed to leave me in there, stand for about a full minute just sort of outside the room with me in the handcuffs, just sitting there. And I just kind of just get in touch with that rage and get in touch with that anger. And suddenly I have been somebody who's been in this fucked up prison for 3 years and really wants out. And I'm going to get out that day because I already know what's going to happen. So I just kind of slip into that I'm bringing in my rage and my anger and my trauma. And I'm just going to drop it all over.
But they're my family. Black Mass means family to me, and just they're amazing. Their minds, the way that they create shows, the different content of their shows. I just, they start talking about things, and I'm just fully immersed in what they're saying, and the outside world goes away, and it feels like I'm in the actual show that they're talking about. Without even, having any, settings or props. They're just talking about ideas. And I cannot, they're, I sound like an idiot, but they're awesome. And I cannot wait to do more things with them. I'm so excited to do whatever they have planned. Like, I don't care what it is, sign me up. You know, this is how companies like this should be. You know, we should have the trust, we should have the friendship, we should have the love, we should have the respect. That's how I feel about Black Mass. You know, it's very personal to me. It's not you know, people are, you call it immersive theater and whatnot, and it's you know, it is that, but to me personally, they're my family, and I love them so much, and they're amazing people.
So for me, Black Mass, like I said, it's a unique immersive experience that offers something not just for the guest, but for an actor. An experience that is memorable and is something that really, just for lack of a better word, changes your life, because you meet such great people around you. You get to work with such like a lot of people with so many interesting backgrounds and things. But on top of that too, you're offered the chance to be a part of experiences that you normally wouldn't get to be a part of. Like I know I've highlighted it a lot, but to be honest, like, where else am I going to have an experience where they're going to say, hey, we're going to shoot you with a grenade launcher, or hey, here's a taser, like, mess with the guests a little bit, or something of that caliber. And so, and for the guests, it's the same thing. It's like, where else are you going to have an experience like that, where you're thrown into a room with, like, and just thrown into situations that you would never think you would be a part of, or things of that caliber. And so for me, that's what Black Mass is. It's a unique, immersive experience that you won't forget. And once you go through once, or once you've acted once, you get hooked, and you never want to go.
Right.
I mean, as an actor, like, it's nice to see a level of community that I'm not necessarily used to. Like with Haunt, you know, I mean, like, everybody's concerned about your well-being, but like, there's so many of us. Like, uh, Dark Harbor regularly employs like over 400 or 500 staff. And
Wow.
that's monsters and performers. That's support staff. Um, you know, I think our biggest show here has been, I think, close to 15 people.
Okay.
And it's a lot more, I wouldn't say laid back. Like, we definitely, like, we take it serious, but I mean, like as far as like interacting with each other, it's very laid back. It's very friendly. Everybody's about safety. They want to make sure you're okay. Even if you stub your toe or something, like, dude, you okay? You need some ice? Like, that's my toe, dude. Calm down. But that's a good thing. I definitely like that. As far as the shows go, what the fuck did I get into? But it's a blast. It's amazing. I try to encourage everybody I meet, like, hey, come to our show. Come to our show. Like, I would do this for fun.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it is fun. It's a definite. It's a step outside of who I am as a person. Like, Baker is 100% everything I am not. You know, and other characters I've played, like, you know, it's a chance to really give your own spin on other things that you do. I haven't done much outside of M series, but you know, as we go on, I imagine I'll be doing a lot more, and there'll be other characters that come. But I mean, me and Baker have a love-hate relationship, just like everybody else. They love to hate him. I hate that I love him.
Family, man. these people, I mean, I'm the only person in my actual biological family who does anything like this. And I mean, I found a haunt family at 17th Door, but that's a big family. That's an extended family plus the cousins and the long distance relatives who come in every 5 years and whatever. But Black Mass, it's a tight knit group to be able to rely on these people. Plus, it's really great because when I go on any like Bumble date or whatever that goes bad, or if anybody treats me wrong, I can be like, hey guys, you want to murder somebody for real? I'd be like, I oftentimes tell people like, yeah, but if my boyfriend decides to pull some shit or whatever, all I have to do is be like, I know a woman who's like, I know a woman who goes by the name Chainsaw and who like we kill people for fun. We got each other's back. Try me. But just to be able to come here with people who I love and fuck shit up, fuck me up, fuck them up, shoot guns at people and cut each other, and of course all consensually and with no harm, but it's a wild experience, but I freaking love it.
Black Mass to me personally means family, honestly, because once you're part of Black Mass, you're part of the family. Like, I'm Black Mass, we are all Black Mass once you're part of here. It's one big, scary, tormenty family that'll beat you up but take care of you afterward. Yeah, but honestly, yeah, it means like family. It means trust, honestly, a lot of trust too. Because you got to trust in both the actors around you and your guests. And your guests also need to trust the actors around them. So it's Black Mass's family and trust, to me, I guess.
It's art, is what it means to me, because that's what we do is art. And we're trying to do something that I don't feel has really been done often. This form of immersive theater doesn't really seem to have been around a lot until in the more recent years. And so I feel like we're kind of on the cutting edge of something new.
Absolutely.
And to be able to take part in this form of art and to do these performances, which to me feel so powerful, feel so memorable, they're definitely memorable to me to be involved in them. It's art, man. That's what it means to me.